currently the authority has defined what a Kenyan certificate looks like, what a Kenyan diploma looks like. And so if you're going to make a curriculum or award anything that looks like a diploma, then it must be able to meet the standard that has been set by the authority. So the authority defines the Kenyan qualification, and we define this in terms of, we've now come up with a 10-level qualification framework that starts from primary to PhD level, and we have defined how much learning must take place at each of those levels, who qualifies to be admitted to each level, and much more importantly, how does a graduate of that level, what skills and competences they should have. So that's part of the work, and so you can see, and then the second, so once we have defined that, then the other thing that we're also looking at is the issue of recognition and equation of qualifications, and this I know will come. Some people, if you have a qualification, part of our work is to also equate Kenyan qualifications to the international framework. So if you come with a piece of paper from Germany, from Uganda, what does it mean for Kenya? So that's the kind of thing that we are doing now. We are also creating, our education system is in silos. So you have a diploma, you have a certificate, you don't know how to go to the next level. Part of what the framework has done is to define what we are calling a credit accumulation and transfer system. So if you have done a diploma at the Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology and you want to join Murang'a University, where do you start? So this is part of the conversation, and this is what we are doing. And the other issue that we are also doing as a qualification framework is something that is very unique. Is called recognition, coming up with a national policy on recognition of prior learning. So as you all know, we have very good, competent mechanics, plumbers, but they don't have papers. So we have a lot of undocumented skills that have been left out of our registration and recognition system. So part of our work is to see how you can recognize this good mechanic who may not have gone to school, but they have skills and competences that can contribute to national development. So we would like to bring all these undocumented skills and all this undocumented knowledge and information into the national resource pool, so that the nation can tap into it for national development. So that's what we are doing.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mark Sellers, we've had, of course, from the opening remarks for our other panelists on what this means, what we are doing as a country to improve our education system. Univoc is the hub for technical and vocational training across the world. What is your assessment on the region and how it takes up issues of TVET training?
I'm very impressed by what I hear and what I've read in preparation about Kenya, because it seems that the reforms in recent years are really taking shape and are really improving the system, so that TVET seems to become more attractive, generates more jobs, and that's something we rarely see. Very often you have visions that are on paper, but to activate them, to put them into action is very, very difficult, because you often have this chicken and egg problem. You need money to start changes. Yeah. What if the money isn't there? How can you start it? So that is something I really find so impressive in Kenya, that you started with strategies and you managed to implement them. And we're seeing something here that is taking shape, and where you can start picking the fruits from it. That's my impression. And so Kenya seems to be a fertile ground for us as well. We have many, of course, we also produce many papers and many visions and many strategies from a global perspective, and then we communicate them. And what we can see here in Kenya is that you're really receiving these very well, and you're trying to do something with them. And so we can work very well together. That's something I enjoy very much.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to bring it back to Dr. Langat. We have heard from various speakers before we sat here, and it now emerges that more students are missing out on marks that will get them into degrees, meaning degree programs, meaning these people will be seeking to join technical institutions. The government, one of the government plans, of course, is to build more technical institutions. They already are. More than 130, I think, have been set up in various constituencies across the country. But even as this happens, what does it mean for the entire system? What is needed to ensure that all these institutions are up and running and are at par, so that we don't have other areas or institutions in other areas disadvantaged or performing poorly compared to others?
Okay, thank you. I really don't want us to look at TVET as really a choice because you have not managed to go to the university, because I think that is what is in the thinking of many. But we want to put in place a system where it's going to be the first choice and not an option because you failed to garner the marks to the university. In the last 2 years, we have seen a shift in the thinking of majority of the stakeholders, both the students and the parents. Last year, at the placement surveys, we had close to 200 students that had been admitted to various courses at the university, but they opted to pursue TVET programs because that was their passion. And this year, that number increased to 592. And we are seeing that increasing. I think the critical thing is, first of all, is to develop programs which are relevant and of high quality, and that will ensure that once an individual is enrolled in this program, is assured or guaranteed of getting a job, either directly as a gainful employment or going to self-employment because of the skills and competencies that person will acquire. And therefore, to answer your question then, how do we ensure that our institutions, regardless of where you are, whether you are in Kodoma or you are somewhere in Busia or Mandera Technical Institute, you possess the same qualification and the competencies. And I think, as my brother said, from Kenya National Qualification Authority, that is a starting point of getting to know what kind of a qualification we are putting it through our training program. In the authority, we have put in place two mechanisms. One is to develop standards and guidelines, and we have developed two manuals. One is what we call the quality management system for the institution, because we believe the quality or achieving quality and quality assurance starts with the institution rather than coming through as through a third party or a regulator. And we are building capacity in our institution to embrace quality first. And two, we have developed another manual which is used now by externally by the regulators to ensure that this institution are up and running. And we have 6 thematic areas. One is on governance and management of institution. 2 is on the programs development and delivery. 3 is on the human resource, both the technical and support. The 4th area is on finances that support this institution. The 5th one is on the trainee welfare, because again, at the end of the day, these are the products that we are channeling out. And 6 is on issues of research, innovation, and enterprise creation. We are pushing our institution to be the next frontiers of the generation of the SME sectors that we are going to have in this country. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Gwantai, we are looking at heading into new curriculum development, and it is in the works. We have gotten it from everyone who's spoken on this panel. What is the importance, or what is the link of harmonization of qualifications with the curriculum that is set in schools?
Thanks a lot for that question. There's need to harmonize the qualification. But what we are talking about here is trying to link, as I said earlier, the industry requirements to gauge our curricula with the industry requirements. Because even if you are given a qualification, maybe for you to do a given work, maybe to be recognized by an employer. Therefore, beyond that, in our curriculum, what we are doing, so that they are in tandem with the requirements of the country, is that the assessment which is done must be done depending or as prescribed by the Kenya National Qualification Regulations, having given what we call the level descriptors. And with this, what are we doing it? And if you give me a moment, I may inform, especially the participants who are in this room, to do understand that there are two types of assessment here. We are talking of criterion referenced and norm referenced. With the norm referenced is whereby students compete against each other. Even if they do not meet the performance criteria required in the industry, the first one is picked. What happens with the secondary school and the primary schools? With the primary school, if you do, even if the first one and the 240 marks, you rejoin Mango High School and and Alliance Girls. If the last one and 440, you will just go to a sub-county school. But now, for us, we are at different level here as technical training institutions. And that is why we are talking of trainers and trainees. We are training people to go and perform what is required in the industry. Therefore, the assessment here must be criterion referenced according to performance criteria required by the people of the industry. And therefore then, we are saying, and this is my request, and I'm happy in what the chair meeting the chair learned in Naivasha, where I'm informed, if that is true, I'm not aware, that the Ministry of Labor, they saying that for them, they can give what we are calling Kenya National Qualification, classification of the qualifications. But the other bodies which are concerned, they can go ahead and develop the occupational standards. Then we have a coordinated system where this country, we have occupational standards, whereby everybody is assessed against the occupational standards. If I may inform you, occupational standard is the key thing. Curriculum is just a document. Learning materials are just there to guide the trainees and also the trainers. But indeed, what is joining us all together is the occupational standards given by the industry, and that is why Kenya National Qualification is coming there, because the qualifications vary. From the lower levels, as you talked about, they have given what you are calling level descriptors. And then you're working with the members of the industry. What should this person perform in order to acquire this kind of certificate for this kind of level?
So then what are we doing to ensure that even our trainers are in line with what we expect at the end of the day from what we are getting from the employers and the industries?
Yes, indeed. What we have done severally, and when you are developing the curriculum, we engage the various professional bodies, regulatory bodies, and 30% out of the 10 people who are participating, our trainers must be represented there. In this congregation, I'm happy even to have one principle, starting the development of the occupational standards in agriculture, up to the development of the curriculum. Maybe you can stand up the principal of Ramogi. Clap for him, because he has done it. And the strength which they have